So today, very fortunate to have Chris Lambrianou and Mick. Thank you very much for coming in. I really appreciate it. As you just said, this is all about what you're doing now. It's about getting a message out. Yeah. It's not about getting money. It's about showing people youngsters. All about getting youngsters come away from crime. Put knives down. Yeah. And save lives. So. I just want to say thank you very much. And just to get started, if you just tell us a bit about yourself, how did it all start for you?
For me, as a youngster, it was shortly after the war, really, things started to move. We lived in 45 Howland Street, which is just off of Tottenham Court Road. And I went to a school called St Patrick's in Soho Square. And I came home from school and my family were on the pavement. And I didn't make out what had happened, but the roof had caved in because the bombs all around us were bomb sites. And the buildings were very, very shakeable. And so they put us into a workhouse. And from the workhouse, that was in South London, we then moved to Halfway House in Victoria, and then got a council house in the East End. If your name weren't Smith or Jones or local name, you were kind of different. Yeah. And the kind of things that really hurt me was I went to a party one day and they said, don't bring the Greek kid in. Well, there weren't many foreign people here. Back in them days, it was no Irish and no dogs in hotels. Yeah. There were immigrants over here, but they very cloistered in different areas. And they weren't as open as they are today and everything else. And if you had a foreign name, it was difficult to find work unless you found it in your own community. But I didn't see myself being any other nationality. I was English. I spoke English. I was born here and everything else. But I had a name. Yeah. That was a foreign name, and that made things very difficult. And, going to school, I'd be fighting with people. You had to fight to survive as a youngster. And I learned about violence. I learned that, my brothers, if anybody attacked them, I'm going to attack them. And that was what it was all about. So I didn't belong, but I wanted to belong. So the only kids I could really mix with were the naughty ones who bunked off school and did all the different things like that. So that's the way it started. And then we started pinching lead off of roofs and stuff like that. Finally got arrested and got sent to an approved school. That was St Vincent's in Dartford in Kent, where there weren't much education. You were working in the fields in winter and summer, carrots, potatoes, all that kind of thing, digging them up and what have you, and that was life there. But that was a junior school of crime. And then when I came out of there, went down to have a laugh down in Canvey Island, got into a tear up there, and police were out looking for us. We crashed through a roadblock, car got turned over. I was sent to the new thing they had, which was a detention centre, and I spent 3 months there with some pretty tough boys, you understand. We like up at 5 o'clock in the morning, out on the yard, exercising, doing all that kind of stuff. And so that was part of that as well. And then I went from there to Young Offenders Institution, and then on to adult prisons. I was in Stafford, and I got chucked out of the Young Offenders Institution and put into an adult prison because I'd got into fights and stuff like that. And that was my life, crime. I got to know all the right people, and then I got into sort of like long firms, which is like start a company up and get a line of credit, build the credit up, and then you go in, you clear the company out. And that was part. I mean, I had some pretty good tutors. They were top of the line. And so I then got done for a post office robbery at Stoke Newington and blowing the safe in there. I got 3 years. I did the 3 years at the Verne and thought, no, that's it as far as I'm concerned now. So I met some really good people who were into different things, and I moved up to Birmingham, where London, it was a rip-off place, London. Birmingham was different. The car industry had just started up. Gambling had just started up. Betting shops and all that kind of thing. There was money to be earned. And I was doing pretty good. And I had good people around me, solid people. And yeah, I did pretty well. But my mum died, and it's a terrible blow to lose your mum. It's like the captain of the ship. We were 5 sons, 5 boys, and my mum had to be a lion tamer.
Yeah.
But a wonderful, wonderful lady. Beautiful, beautiful mum. And I still smell the cake she'd bake on a Sunday afternoon and the Sunday roast dinner. Nothing's ever been the same since she passed away. And my dad was a hard-working man. He owned his own restaurant for a period of time, but racists got in there and smashed it up. And so he became a chef. That was his line of work. He could make the most magical Greek food. And so I used to come down and see him every 2 weeks. And I came down to see my dad. And in the meantime, my brother Tony had got the Krays. And Tony said, come down and meet him. I said, no, I don't want to meet him, Tony. I'm okay. I want to do what I'm doing. I'm doing well. And I had to meet a guy called Connie Whitehead because the twins had some American bonds and he wanted to get rid of them. So I went down to Blind Beggar and he didn't show up. So my car was in a garage being serviced and I stand at a bus stop and a guy called Ronnie Bender drove by and he went, "You're right, Chris?" I said, "Yeah, I'm all right, Ron." He said, "What's the matter?" I said, "My car's in the garage." He said, "Come on, I'll give you a lift." And he gave me a lift home and told me he was with the Krays, one of their drivers and that kind of thing. I never thought a lot of it. He was a nice guy, ex-soldier, and, good man. And I forgot it. He went and that was it. But in retrospect, when I think about it, I think Connie Whitehead told the twins he was meeting me and the twins purposely sent Ronnie Bender down to bring me down to them. Because later Ronnie Bender turns up at the door and says, "Chris," he said, "the twins want to meet you." So I said, "Ron, if you need a few quid, I'll give you a few quid, but I don't want to meet them." Because they didn't have a very good name.
Yeah.
They were seen as being like thieves, ponces and all that kind, by all the regular guys. And so I said, "Look, I'm not interested." And he said, "Well, Tony's down there." Well, I'd always looked after Tony. I was the older brother.
Yeah.
When he was little, I used to push him around the pushchair for my mum and that kind of thing. And so I felt obliged to go down there. So I went down there with Ronnie, had a drink. They perfectly kind of decent people, polite, asked me about what I was doing. Yeah, I was told them I'm into gambling and everything else up there and got a company up there. Well, not a company, I had a garage selling cars and a car wash and stuff like that. And they said, "Well, look, we're opening the club in Leicester." can you bring some people from your clubs in Birmingham over to us so we can actually, because everything in a gambling club, there's a slot in the middle of the table. The only winner is the club.
Yeah.
Everything goes down the hole.
House always wins.
Yeah, that's right. And so, I did take people over there and everything. And then Charlie, Kray and Tommy Cowley came up to Birmingham. I introduced them to a lot of people. And they saw a different kind of setup there, different class that they could not have imagined was out of London. And everything went very well. And I came down to, I wasn't going to come down. I'd already been down the week before. But a guy called Ray Mills said to me, Chris, why don't you come down to London this weekend? You've not met my brother and I've not met yours. We can have a meet up and have a drink and do a bit of socialising. So I said, no, Ray, I'll be down next week. And he said, please come down this weekend. So we went down there. We had a meet up with the Mills brothers. And we finished up going to this pub on Hackney Road called the Queen's Arms. And then there was a debate between me and Tony. I wanted to go down the West End where all the girls were, party was and everything else in Leicester Square. And Tony said, well, let's go to the Regency. They've never been there. I said, no, it's Saturday night gangsters. What do we want to go there for? Because Saturday night, all the people would be out with their suited and booted, you know what I mean? And so, no, I don't want to go. Tony said, well, look, just come up there. We'll have a drink up there and then we'll go down the West End. So I said, all right, I'll do that. So we went up to the Regency Club. We'd be about 11:30. Went in, had a drink. And then a general invitation went round to a party. Jack Hatt came over to me and said, Chris, he said, are you going to this party? I said, yeah, I am. So he said, what's it going to be like? I said, I don't know. I really want to go down the West End. So he said, well, go to the party. So I went to the party. I couldn't get my car out because it was blocked in. So we all got in Jack's car and we went round to Evering Road. Got out of the car, went in. Everybody said hello and all that kind of thing. Quite a few people there. And Jack went running in the room. Where's the birds and where's the booze? And then an argument developed. Well, I didn't come down to get in arguments or anything else like that. I've come down to Birmingham and I kind of said to Connie, Whitehead, I want to go. And Ronnie Kray came out and he said, what's the problem? And Connie Whitehead turned around to him and said, look, Chris doesn't want to be here. He doesn't want nothing to do with this. He's come down for a drink. And Ronnie said, take him home. So he took me home. But then I started thinking my brother Tony's still there. So I went and got a 38 revolver I had. And I got a cab. I had a cup of coffee with my dad. And then I got the gun. And at night I go down to my brother Jimmy and get the gun. I got the gun off of Jimmy. I got a cab to the Regency, got my car and went round to Evering Road. And I go knock on the door and Ronnie Bender came up. And I said, Tony down there. He went, no, that's all right, Ron, see you later. He said, Chris, don't leave me. I said, what do you mean? He said, they've killed him. I said, what, in front of all them people? No. He turned around, he said, please, he said, help me. I said, well, who's here with you? He said, nobody. I said, where are the twins? He said, they've run away. I couldn't get it. You understand me? They've left him there on his own. So I said, well, what are your instructions? Well, I've got to carry his body over up on the bridge in Evering Road, which was about maybe 100 yards away, and throw the body over the railway, on the railway track, so that the train would mash up the body. So they would never know what happened, that he'd been stabbed to death or whatever. So he said, Chris, please help me. Now, I've got a guy here, he's banging trouble. He's not a murderer. He's not somebody who would kill anybody on purpose. He's an ex-soldier, a thoroughly decent guy. Anyway, I turn around to Ronnie. I said, "Come on in," I'll go. And I go downstairs, and I know what I'm looking for. I'm looking for socks. Now, the reason I'm looking for socks is you put them on your hands.
Yeah.
You know, fingerprints and what. And then I go in the front room, and there's the body laying there. And I think he's asleep. I think he's going to wake up. But it's obviously he's dead. So I go upstairs and go in the bedroom, and I get an eider down off a bed. But then what I notice is 2 young children asleep in the bed there. So the twins, the girl who owned Blonde Carol, owned the flat, has gone out. She's left the twins in charge of the 2 children, just to make sure they hadn't too much noise or whatever. Anyway, I made sure I didn't wake them up. Went downstairs, we got Jack, wrapped him up in the, what's the name, and then him and I are tidying the place up. And there's a knock on the door. It's my brother Tony. He knows where I've come back to when he went home. So he's come back to the flat at Evelyn Road, to the house, and he's now got involved as well in the clean-up. So we've cleaned everything up. But in the meantime, Blonde Carol and her boyfriend, they come back. So I said, look, there's been a bit of an altercation, a bit of a row. Go in the bedroom, it's being sorted out. Don't worry about nothing. And everything will be okay. I'll tell you when it's okay, come out. We then got to get the body upstairs along the corridor. But not only that, across the road is a shop that sells bagels, and there's taxis pulling up all night long, getting the bagels. So we've had to wait for a break in the taxis coming. And then we've got out and we've got to put him in a boot, but you can't put a body of a 6-foot man in a boot. So we put him on the back seat, right, in his car. Then we tied it up. We told Blonde Carol she can come down, everything's fine. And then what happens is, there's a debate. Ronnie Bender said, I'm not driving that car. So Tony, I'll give him his due. He turned around and said, I'll drive it. I drive my car with Ronnie Bender in it, and we're driving along, and a police car falls in behind Tony. If there's a comedy of errors, there's a tragedy of errors. And the tragedy of errors happened that night. From one thing led to another, to another, to another. And more people got involved. So I decide that it's going to go over the other side of the river. So this didn't happen in the East End. This happened in South London.
Okay. Which
takes the dairy off of us. The Richardsons had all gone away. Fraser and all them kind of people. So we're going to fall on them shoes. It could be anybody in South London who's done this. It's happened in South London. The car runs out of petrol outside a church, the other side of the Rotherhithe Tunnel, or whatever tunnel it was. And so then what happens is, we're driving around looking for Tony. I finally see him. And outside this church would be confetti, so the church would be in use quite regular. We left the body there and we came back over to East London. What I didn't know was Ronnie Bender got in touch with Charlie Kray and told him about the body, where it was. Charlie Kray got in touch with Freddie Foreman and told him the body was on his manor. So he's got to get it moved off the manor. Now you see what happened, our tragedy of errors, everybody's being drawn in.
Yeah.
Charlie Kray was not there. He knew nothing about it, never knew it was going to happen or anything else. Freddie Foreman didn't know it was going to happen. And there they are. These men who got arrested for it. Everybody. So things were quiet for a little while. I was going around telling people keep their mouth shut and everything would be okay. But whispers began to appear here and there. And the police come and arrested me up in Birmingham and brought me down to London. And I thought they were taking me to, Scotland Yard. They didn't. They took me over the river to a place called Tintagel House in South London, on the other side of the embankment. And when we got in there was Nipper Reed, there was Cater, and another police officer. And they spoke to me decently. I said, look, we know you never had nothing to do with this murder. Tell us about it. I said, I don't know what you're talking about. They said, you were there, but you left. You had nothing to do with it. Tell us about it. Neither you nor none of your family will be arrested, and there'll be no repercussions. We give you our word. I said, I don't know what you're talking about. Murder? Who was murdered? And I looked up on a blackboard that they had in this office, and all the names of the Kray firm were there. So he gave me his card, Nipper Reed. He said, go and think about it and give me a ring. He said, no, I'll sort everything out for you. Well, what I did, I went and to Bunhill Row and spoke to Violet Kray. And I said, Violet, I've been down to Tintagel House. They've arrested me. I've gone down there, and they're going to try and do the twins for murder. And I said there were a lot of names on the blackboard and all that. I told her all that. And she said, please, Chris, come and tell them. Come with me up to, and Charlie and Carol, come with us on a visit today and tell them what you've told me. So I said, no, it's more than I dare do. And she turned around and said, all their friends have deserted them. Please, Chris, come down and tell them. I told you I lost my mum. Well, listening to Violet Kray was like my mum speaking to me. You understand what I'm saying? Help my boys, my mum would have said the same. Help my boys, their friends have deserted them. Of course everybody's deserted them. They're in jail. There's 3 murder cases hanging over them and everything else. So I listened to her and I shouldn't have done. I should have listened to myself. Anyway, I went to the Brixton prison with her. Charlie Kray, as soon as he saw me, went on that. Shouldn't be here. And she shook his head. And I went, pointed to his mum. Twins came out in the visiting room. They were the other side of a massive window. Oh, Chris, it's great to see you and all the rest of it. What's happening? I told them. And they said, well, they've got no proof. I said, well, I saw an awful lot of stuff there on them blackboards. I said, and they were pointing at different names and things like that. I said, you've got to be very, very careful. Anyway, the visit was over. Violet had a handkerchief in her hand, tears running down her eyes. Old Charlie, you could see, was gutted. And Carol, Reggie's girlfriend, she was pretty devastated as well. I dropped them off where they lived, at Bunhill Row. I went and saw the Mills brothers and other people, told them to keep their mouth shut. And I went back to Birmingham. I was up there about 3 weeks, and I was going down to a club called the Elbow Room. And the next thing I knew, police were on me, surrounded me, cars and that kind of thing, and took me down to Birmingham, down to London, Tintagel House. And the police said, now I'll give you every opportunity. He said, but you went to Brixton, didn't you, to see the twins? And he's playing around with a gun. And he came round the table, said, wasn't a very clever thing to do, that, was it? So I said, what do you mean? I said, I know them. I just went to say hello with their mum. And he went, no, you didn't. Smacked me over the head with a gun. My reaction was, if I do anything, he's got nothing on me. If I act violently towards him, he's got me back to rights. At this present time, he's got nothing. Anyway, after the conversation, he turned round and he said, charge him. I said, charge me with what? He said, murder. I said, but I haven't touched anybody. I wasn't even there when I'm alleged to have done. You've got no proof. You told me that, there was nothing against me. So how can you charge me with murder? And he said, charge him with murder. Anyway, I go to the Bow Street magistrates. I can hear people talking. It's my brother Tony and Ronnie Bender. They'd been arrested at the same time. So we go out into the dock. There's Tony. There's Ronnie Bender. There's Charlie Kray. There's Freddie Foreman. There's Reggie and Ronnie and myself, all in the dock together. All of a sudden, I've got a solicitor. The one solicitor represented all of us. And so we're all charged with murder. Ronnie Bender, Tony, me, Ronnie and Reggie. Charlie and Freddie Foreman were charged with accessory to murder. We get remanded in custody. Reggie, Ronnie, Tony, Freddie and Charlie were remanded in Brixton. Me and Ronnie Bender were remanded in Wandsworth prison because they didn't have enough room in Brixton. And that's it. So we go forward to the trial, and for the first time that I can ever remember, they joined the two murder trials together. So although we didn't have nothing to do with the Cornell murder, and Ian Barry had nothing to do with us, in the McVitie murder, they put both the murder trials together. Because what they said was Ronnie was alleged to have said, I've done mine, you do yours. That was never ever said. And so that was it. What happened on that night, I believe Ronnie didn't take his medication, and he was unpredictable. I think Reggie had lost his wife. He was doing speed and also drinking a lot of gin. And I think all them things had an effect. Yeah. Mentally, the two weren't together. Because Reggie wasn't the kind of man that killed anybody. That night, apparently, from what I was told, he lost it entirely. So, Tony, Ronnie Bender, myself, Charlie, Freddie Foreman, and the twins, we all stood in the dock together. We were solid. Nothing happened. There was no murder took place. There was no party took place. We couldn't defend ourselves. Because if we defend ourselves, we point the finger at them.
Yeah.
And we can't do it. Ronnie Bender's got 3 children, 3 boys, Ronnie, Johnny and Jimmy. They're kind of like 9, 10, 12. Very lovely wife who waited for him for 20 years. That's loyalty.
Yeah.
Tony, my brother, had 2 children, Karen and David. His wife waited for 15 years till he came out pat. My wife didn't wait. She went to get on the bus to come and see me and said, I don't know what I'm going to get when he comes out. You know, what is 15 years going to do to him?
Yeah.
My daughter was 17 months. I fought a hard battle, even up to the Royal Courts of Justice, to be able to see my daughter. And the judge said, you know, I think your daughter should go and see a psychiatrist. So she understands when she's old enough just what her dad's been in prison for and all that. And I pointed to her, Mrs. Justice Lane, her name was, and I said, you did not make me a father. A greater being than you made me a father. And I'm responsible for my daughter. And I'll be responsible as long as I live. And she said, I know I didn't make you a father. And I agree with you that a greater person than anybody on this earth made you a father. But I can't let your daughter be going in and out of prison, visiting. It's not going to do her mentally any good or anything like that. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to allow you one letter a year and one photograph. And I got the one letter and one photograph. And it was like a shopping list. There was no feeling there. There was no emotion there. And so I wrote to her. I said, if you find it too painful to write to me, then I don't do it. She never ever wrote to me again. So to bring the story a lot further forward, when I came home, I got a telephone call from Tony. He said, Charlie's met your daughter. So then Charlie rang me, and Charlie Kray, and said he was in Canon Classic Films, and one of the secretaries there said to him, I think you know my father. And Charlie went, oh no, not another one. And he turned around and she said, my father's Chris Lambrianou. And he got in touch with me and said, would you like to meet your daughter? So Tony arranged it all, and I met him at Marylebone Station. Big bunch of flowers and everything else like that. Photographs taken. And Tony said, where do you want to go? I said, I want to go to Serpentine. He said, are you crazy? You've not seen your daughter in years. In more or less, 17 years, well, about 17 years or whatever. He said, do you not, want to go somewhere really nice? I said, no, I want to go to Serpentine. All right, go to Serpentine. He drops us off down. And what are you going to do here? I said, I'm going to go on a boat. Went down and got a boat, and we rowed into the middle of the Serpentine. No traffic, no people talking between us. And we spoke, and at some depth. And it was what I'd always dreamed had happened.
Yeah. Just
her and I. And I apologised and everything else. But in retrospect, I thought, I love my daughter and my wife. But we all, and Ronnie Bender loved his children and his wife as well, and Tony. But we put it all aside for not for the twins, for the way we believed.
Yeah.
We believed that you didn't point a finger at anybody. We believed you didn't grass on people. That was from, the education we had. And so it cost us 15 years. It cost me my family. Tony and Ronnie Bender's family stuck by them, even when they came out. So poor old Ronnie died of a heart attack when he was out 2 years. He helped an awful lot of people in jail. Good good man, a really good man, a soldier right through his life. And so, you know, it's sad. But in retrospect, what would I do? You asked me a question earlier on, and the question is this: would I do anything different? In what I know now, I'd never got involved. I would have stuck by always the right time to do the right thing.
Yeah.
And the right thing was to go and get a job, work hard, build a relationship, build a future, provide for your children, be the father, be the husband, be the decent citizen you really should be. It can happen. You put the effort in, you'll get what you want. Life is about give and take. Take, give, take. If people see you're working hard, they respect you.
Yeah.
And you're mixing with the right people. Put a fool with wise men, he becomes wise. Put a wise man with fools, he becomes a fool. There's a lot of truth in that.
Yeah.
And I remember things that people said to me. Bruce Reynolds, I said, how do I survive this, Bruce? He went, watch what the clever ones are doing and do likewise. I always remember that. Charlie Richardson, an educator, throw your head over the wall and your body will follow. You know, just this was what people said. And it was true. Read a book, go on an adventure, do different things. Don't go out on the street, pick a knife up, hurt somebody, because I'll tell you something, the people you're really going to hurt is your family. You're going to take them into prison with you.
Your own as well.
Yeah, but that's pretty much, you know, where I'm at.
Because then how did you two meet, if you don't mind me asking?
I'll leave that on to me.
There's a Facebook page, the Krays, and I was on that because I've always been interested in things like that. I've always visited the Krays' graves and cleaned them since 2000. And I see a relation of Chris's trying to clean a stone. And I thought, I know that cemetery. It's where I used to work. And I remember it, so I got in contact with her and I said, I'll clean it for you. And she goes, and I cleaned it and re-lettered it properly. And then she sent Chris a message and a picture. And then she asked for my address. And all of a sudden I got a book, a signed book, come through the door. And thank you for your help. And with a telephone number, can you ring me? Hence, that's how we got, because originally, back in the day, I did bury his dad.
Yeah. So, I mean, the fact was that kind of somebody had put themselves out and cleaned the stone. And I've got loads of pictures over the years. He's not done it once. I mean, he goes there regular because it's the cemetery where he worked. It's got a history there. His father worked there as well. Yeah. And it was something a man didn't ask him to do it. He just did it.
But I will say something else about the Krays' graves. I've been cleaning them for a long while. France's grave, Reggie's wife, her grave stone was in disrepair. It was bad. It was very bad. Lettering was gone. Everything's gone. Everyone would go around to the Krays' graves, take photos with them. The graves were a mess, literally. So I made some wooden frames up, put wooden frames around them, put some flowers into them. Got her stone. Her stone was you couldn't even read it. Got it back to being pure, brilliant white. Yeah, and it was sinking. Now this stone, at today's value, would be £25,000.
Yeah.
That stone was sinking. No one. So I spoke to Chris about it. Me, Chris, and Maureen Flanagan raised the money to get this stone lifted. Now this should have cost about £1,000, but a friend of mine who was a mason got it done for £300. He done it for me. So not only we saved the stone, lifted it. It's nice and level, but I got in so much trouble over it through certain people of the family of Francis because they didn't like Chris, and I'd had it lifted, but it wasn't down to them because Roberto Kray owns the grave. They don't. So I got permission off Roberta. I spoke to her on the phone. The cemetery, I got a form which you have to fill in because you have to pay a permit to get a stone lifted. I sent it off to her. She sent it back to me. I took it to the cemetery, paid the fee, and we had it lifted.
Yeah.
And that's what I did for that. And I've also done Dinah Dawes' grave. I've done a few people, and it's no saying. And there's another one I did do. It's this young lad who went to school one day in Bedford. He went to school and was given drugs, and he took him to the hospital, and the hospital said, "Don't worry, he's going to come down or whatever." That night he died in bed, 14. Yeah. My cousin, the stonemasons wanted $2,000 to get this stone back to its originality because it was, in disrepair. The young lad had been buried 5 or 6 years. He told me about it. I went down to Bedford with my cousin, cleaned it up, relettered it. They said, "What do you owe me?" I said, "Nothing."
And going back to why the family didn't like me was because Brian Gangland, the producer of Legend, we had a meeting, and I did take him down to the family home that I knew where the Shays lived, and because Frankie was one of my best friends, and we went down there, but they turned that road into a kind of a long factory. So what we did, we tried to find them, couldn't find them anywhere. But then what happened was, we were talking, me and Brian Gangland, and I said one of the saddest sights I saw was Reggie leaving a pub down in the East End. And I said, "Do you want a lift?" And he said, "No, Chris, I just want to be on my own. I want to go for a walk." And he walked off into the night, and he had the weight of the world on his shoulders. He'd lost his wife. He was drinking heavily. He was on speed. It was all that kind of stuff. And I said, every one of us went down, and it was down to Francis, really. Because Francis passed away, Reggie became a mess. And he lost it entirely.
Because Charlie's son buried him with Francis.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's right.
And because they wanted that the family was going to try and take her out of the grave.
Yeah.
But when Charlie's son died, Reggie allowed them to put him in because they won't take two bodies. They won't move two bodies when you do an exhumation. Only move one.
Right.
So there was a lot of jealousy over the legend story about the kind of like, it was Francis, but I don't know if you understand what I'm actually saying.
Yeah.
Is if Francis had been alive, I don't think Reggie would have got himself involved in all that. The man was under strain. He was under a lot of pressure, a lot of pain. If you lose your wife, be it suicide, be it maybe she just took too many sleeping tablets by accident, but he lost her. And there's a lot of self-blame, a lot of anger, a lot of pain and everything else like that. And of course, he would never have done that, so none of us would have gone to prison. If Frances had still been alive, the fact that she passed away opened up all kinds of problems for Reggie, and we fell into the pit, 15 years. But a good book says, "The years which the locusts have eaten I will restore to you." Well, I've been out on the street 40 years. I've got 7 children. 3 of my girls have got degrees. Nothing prouder than to stand in a university and see your family going up with a mortarboard gown on, and you don't get the degree by just walking up and get it. You've got to work for it solidly. My daughter Laura used to every day get up and go to university in London, literally, catch a train and do all that kind of thing because she wanted it. And now what we want to do is get a message across about young people carrying knives and getting their family put in a prison with them.
So what do you think, if you don't mind asking, what do you think the reason is for knife crime being so big at the moment?
Because
is it like
people are frightened.
Yeah.
People feel threatened.
Is it a fear that, oh, he might be carrying one, so I've got to carry one?
That's right. That's right.
But it also could be social media, isn't it?
Yeah.
You got to look at it like
a lot
social
of that.
media. It's like you get threatened on social media, then what happens? Oh, they go to the kitchen, take a knife. You ask yourself, if you had, why do people need 10 kitchen knives in their drawer? Will they notice one missing? No, they wouldn't. If you've got 4 or 3, you'll notice one missing.
Yeah.
And that's where it all stems from. And it's right, Chris, is what you said the other week. Person who carries a knife is normally the person who gets killed by his own knife.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And do you think a lot of, do you think as well that, because one thing like looking at like your generation is there was a lot of respect back then, and do you think nowadays there's like my generation, let's call it, is they've lost that respect, and which is again why it's so worse? Or
well, my generation were soldiers. They got called up. They spent 2 years in the army. There was respect. In my day, we sat round the table and we had a meal and we shared things.
Yeah.
Now people don't share. Straight away, the mobile phone, no matter where you look.
Yeah.
There can be a car crash there. I'll take photographs.
Start videoing it. Yeah.
You understand? Somebody's been badly injured there. Take photographs. You're saying, look, I'm in the know. I was there. I've got the photographs to prove it.
Yeah. People don't sit around a table now, though, do they?
People don't associate anymore.
Or the amount of time someone's getting robbed or something, the first thing someone does is film it.
That's right. Pubs, most of them are shut down.
Yeah.
There were social places where people would go and have a drink, get to know their next door neighbour and all that kind of thing. They're all gone.
Yeah.
Now people go and it's takeaway. Sit on the couch and watch Netflix.
Yeah.
They don't associate. I know Mick backwards. He knows me backwards because we go and do things together.
Yeah.
I mean, we raise money for, what's the name? For Anfield.
Yeah.
But it weren't. What happened was, this girl works with my daughter, and she said, my dad's runs a boxing club up in Anfield in Liverpool. Do you think you can do something? So what we did, an occasion came up, and we did something, and we raised a certain amount of money.
1,500.
I have another friend who always gives me, every time he sees me, he gives me £100. But what I do, I get a letter sent to him that the charity has received £100.
Yeah.
But what I like doing is helping youngsters, because in today's world, we live in a throwaway society.
Oh, God, yeah.
We throw away things. We throw away...
I look at that to relationships now. If you're looking back in the day, like my grandparents, they were together. How long were they together? 40-something years?
Yeah, well, back then people didn't get divorced, did they?
They didn't. I'm sure there was many times they were probably on the borderline, like, that's it, we're done. But they stuck together. Whereas now, is you just say one thing wrong and it's, oh, that's it, we're over. So, yeah, I'll just go get something else.
Also, people had belief in them days.
Yeah.
They'd go... There were no atheists in the trenches in the Second World War. You understand? If the bombs are coming down, you're living in hope that you're going to get through it. Yeah. You have to find faith, and you only find it when you're on your knees. And then you can get to your feet, and you've got a purpose to fight. Yeah. And so there's all them things have gone. People today, as I said, oh, no, I'll chuck her away. We're not getting on for 5 minutes. What about the kids? They're in a war zone. They're watching mum and dad arguing and fighting and all the rest of it. You're no good. You're this, you're that. Oh, you're this, you're... Kids shouldn't be seeing that. And then the father walks away. He wants nothing to do with the ex-wife. He found a new one. And the kids suffer as well. They don't go out with dad doing the kind of things you've done. Yeah. and the kind of things I did with my father. I loved and respected my father, and I know you do the same. I've heard you speaking to your dad. That's important.
Yeah.
But we're fortunate. We've had parents in our life.
I mean, my dad was a really bad man when I was a kid. He's still alive, bless him. And everyone said, "Oh, but I ring him every morning. You know, every morning I ring him and speak to him, make sure he's all right." So even though how bad he was, he's still my dad.
And he still loves him.
And that just shows the respect.
That's right.
So
that's what it is. I've been with Mickey when he's gone to his mum's or he's gone to his dad's. He shows them respect. He shows them love. Sometimes people, they've got so much going on around them, working, trying to earn money, trying to put food on the table, all that kind of thing. But this generation have lost it.
Because I think as well, because I always find that people always said I was born in the wrong era, and one thing I look at and I think's lost is something for me, like for instance my girlfriend. I'll open the car door for her. I'll open doors for her. I'll let her go first. If we're walking down, this is one thing that really bugs me. If I'm walking down the road, she walks on the left and I walk on the road side. If it's the other way, I will walk against the dangerous side. Even if we're walking next to a river or something, I'm on the river side.
Where did you get that from, Tris?
You.
It's really weird about
that's the way things are. The way they should be. I've been married for 20 years. She's the best thing that ever happened to me. You understand what I'm saying? She stands beside me. She points me in the right direction. Yeah. She's not interested in the Krays. My kids are not interested at all. What they're interested in is their own future. Yeah. Working, doing better, bringing up families and all that kind. My grandkids, wonderful. When I spend time with them, I feel the love. I see the freshness. They're the future. The other day, I'm driving along with Mickey, and there's all these children coming out. And I said to Mick, that's the future there. They're the future. They're the people we should be educating. Yeah. There's no more about ADHD and all that kind of stuff. Everybody counts.
Yeah.
Everybody counts. Don't matter whether you're black, blue, yellow, green. When I was in prison, there was a black guy called Wally Wilson. That man helped me so much. He was educated. He was open university and everything. He'd do the petitions for me, you know, to try and get my dad being nearer to him. But at the end of the day, because the distance he was travelling to visiting Tony in prison on the Isle of Wight, or me on the Isle of Wight, Tony in Leicester, Tony in Gartree, or whatever, I needed help to write that out, and I didn't have the ability to do it. But Wally did. And one day he said to me, Chris, I'm not doing it anymore. You've got to do it. I said, Wally, you've got to do it because I'm lost without it. And he said, no, I can't put your feelings down on paper. I can't put the emotions and everything else of what being apart from such a distance from your dad is doing to you. But you can, and you can do it. And he was right. And another guy taught me calligraphy. So I learnt so much by people. But there was a part of prison which you can never get away from. Loneliness.
Yeah.
And the pain you've caused other people. The pain you've caused your brothers and sisters, your friends and your loved ones, your mum and dad. You don't ever get away from that.
Chris, do you remember that we went to that knife crime, just stops for knife crime, and we're sitting there and there's a bunch of, they're only 15, 16-year-olds, whole load of them, and the body language of some of them were like leaning in the chair like that and doing this. And you knew the ones, didn't you? You knew the ones that thought they were, this is crap, this is that. There's one guy there though that me and Chris noticed, and he come up to
the
you,
dad,
the dad. Can we do this with you? Because the dad was so paranoid about
black guy
where his son was going to go, that he made sure his son come and spoke to Chris. Yeah. And it's really weird to see because all the other people there were slurching. So you knew there's one lad, wasn't there? One lad, you walk around, Chris says something to him. It's like you know, there's no point talking to him because he wasn't interested. He knew best.
I remember when I was in Woodhill, you'd see the new lot come in through the gates, But you're all right, mate. How you doing? Oh, you're back in again. And I remember just thinking, you're fucking nuts.
Mm. One guy, 7 Christmases he had spent in there.
Bit like you. I mean, I was brought up, Charlie Church. My mum was mad on the church, Sunday school, and all the rest of it. And obviously, when I got in there, you felt, for something I hadn't done, I felt quite angry. But I remember this little nun come in the first 24 hours, really, and sort of, really helped me. And anyway, she said, ask him for a sign. If you're angry with him, tell him you're angry with him. And I did that night. And then the following day, they moved me I was on the induction, we moved me to a wing. And I went in with this guy. Turned out he knew all my family from Wellingborough, because that's where a lot of my family were from. And he's claimed to fame. He's like, do you realise I've spent 8 of the last 9 Christmases in prison? I was like, you're not very fucking good at what you're doing, are you? So maybe pick a different career. But he for someone who'd never been in this situation, he knew everything. And I remember sitting there. Now, I don't smoke, I don't drink. I mean, I did when I was younger, but not smoke, sorry. But he said, do you want a spliff? Now, at the time, it's like anything to help me sleep, because I can't. And he went, and I was like, where are you going to get that from? He went, leave it with me. And in Woodhill, obviously, they're really tight little windows, and he suddenly yells something out the window. Next thing I know, he's ripping strips off my bed, makes himself the rope, puts the toilet thing on the end, swings out the window to some guy. Yeah. He moves it, and I was like, how did you do that? And he draws it all back in. Yeah. Oh, do you want to? And I was like, I could have all this stuff. I wouldn't have. Oh, that was it. Do you want a cup of tea? Obviously, back in the day, you want a cup of tea? Well, you got a flask with the hot water. No, leave it to me. Pulls the thing out the back of the telly, puts the razor blade in the wires. He said, it's always got to be careful with this. He said, put it in the water first, then turn it on. He said, because if he trips the landing, your name's mud. And banging on their cell doors because you just turned all their tellies off. And I remember this guy literally really helped me. And the thing that was really cool, because I went in just before Christmas, and obviously at the time of year not to go in, it was we were getting ready for our first Christmas with the kids. And he said one night, he said to me, do you want a cup of hooch? And I thought, what? What do you mean? And for ages, because I was such a novice, I was such a fucking... Yeah. And I'd say I couldn't understand. I kept going to throw this mouldy bread away he'd got, and this bag of sugar and all this orange peel and stuff like that. I went, no, don't touch it, leave it there. Yeah. And I didn't. He's making hooch on the bed. Apparently he makes it for the wing at Christmas. Yeah. So he gives me this cup, and you're trying to, filter out the bits of mould and fruit through your teeth, but it got me to sleep. And I remember we got raided, as you do. Yeah. And they found it all, and they pulled me aside, and sort of, now obviously, same as you, I mean, my thing was, even though I wasn't guilty, I'd found out what had happened. And same thing, when they offered me, said, just tell us what happened, we kept our mouth shut, like you did. We never thought we could, I had nothing to do with it. Yeah. But I always remember, he knew I wouldn't go guilty, but it was going to fuck up my move to Spring Hill. And he knew I needed that for my family visits. And he confessed, he just went, nothing to do with him. He said he could have been sat in there all week with that stuff and he wouldn't know what to do. And he got me out of it. And he did that all off his own back because he knew how important it was. Because I want to try and, because I wouldn't let the kids come to Woodhill and see me because of the thing. So, but it's, I met some amazing people. Yeah. I like
some are so smart, aren't they?
When I got to Spring Hill, back then, I know it's changed now, but when I got to Spring Hill, without being horrible, sounds bad, but I met a better quality prisoner because it was obviously it was the guys coming out to resettlement prison, so you had a lot of the lifers, you had a lot of wise people that had gone through the system, like and they were giving you wise information. I met these 2 guys very early on. They were inside for murder. And they hadn't committed it. The old Bill had killed this guy and blamed them. Yeah. And they'd been, if you remember, Trial for Justice, was it? Or Rough Justice, and the programmes on the TV. They'd gone to appeal twice. It had been turned down. And they taught me so much because I was like, I still have a chip on my shoulder. It's like, how can you, I met him after 12 years. And you'll know this if this is true. He said to me back then, I think it's changed now, but back then, to sign your life licence, you had to accept the crime you'd been put in for. That's what they said to me. Yeah. He said, we ain't signed that. We either go out as innocent men, or we don't leave this prison. I was like, mate, I don't admit to anything to get out of it right now. And they were so strong, and they taught me so much. They got out, I think they got out a year after I did on appeal. Yeah. And even though they get found innocent, they found the conviction unsafe, didn't they? That's how they get out of it. So you could have done it, but you might not have done it. Yeah. And they got out.
I mean, back in 85, when the Tottenham riots were on, I used to go to school with all them guys who got put away for the Blake Clock murder.
Yes.
Engin Raggett was a really good friend of mine, but he never done it, but he got put away for it. And 6 years after he got put away, they found it that because he couldn't read or write, falsified evidence and let him.
It is, the corruption's amazing. It's just
but you see, someone like yourself, you've come out of prison, and most people say, "Oh, you'll be back."
Yes.
You didn't go back.
No.
Okay.
It's a mindset.
Tell me how you started out creating a business like this.
Because no one else would give me a job because I had a criminal record.
Like me.
And the attitude was, well, fuck you then.
Yeah.
Two fingers. In fact, I worked in Bicester. In fact, what's your son's name?
I've got Chris.
He came in for a job interview.
Yeah.
There was a place in Bicester on the train estate. Called, do you remember, it was the old newspapers you put in the garage for jobs.
That's right, yeah.
He came in for an interview. I always remember because I interviewed him. And I got a job there because that's what I'd run a estate. I'd had some really good jobs. But when all this happened, my name was mud. I couldn't get a cleaner's job. No one wanted to come near me because no one believed me. Even my family didn't believe I hadn't done it. And that was painful that my own family, because I'd been a complete dick. So, and I went for a job interview for a recruitment agency, to work in the recruitment agency. Really good interview. Knew I got the job when they then go and they're going to fill the forms out. And it got to criminal record. I said, when I come out, I'm telling the truth about everything. I'm not ever lying again. Got to the criminal record. I got a criminal record. What do I say? And they couldn't have got me out of the building quick enough. And it absolutely devastated me that here's me. I've come out. I'm going to tell the truth. And you fuckers have just been me. So I made the decision. If you don't ask me, I'm not telling you. But if you ask me, I'm going to tell you. So I went for this next one in Bicester. That's it. McKay Trading Estate. That's the place. Backs onto the shopping village, and went there. Bloke didn't ask me. Got the job. Had to start as a trainee. I think I was 31 then. Start as a trainee right away. But it's like, don't care. You give me a chance, and I'll show you what I can do. And it was sales. Done really well. And after about 6 months, I went into the bloke's office, and he was he'd done all right for himself. His day-to-day car was a red 360 Ferrari, and in the nice weather, he brought out his bright yellow Lamborghini to get to work. And I went in there and said, look, you've never asked me nothing, never lied to you. He said, I've got a criminal conviction. And he just went, Chris, I don't fucking care. You're making me money. You could have murdered 20 people. I judge you on who you are now. And I really respected him for that. And that gave me much. So we did that. And then he'd done a bit of a long firm on it and folded the company 2 days before paid. I've been doing it for a few years. And after that, it's like, well, fuck it. I'll do my own thing. And took a chance and set up a coffee company, and that was pretty much. But then I had the boys, so everything I did was about the boys. They were very much pub people, so they'd go to the pub at lunchtime. They'd go out on a Thursday and Friday night round Bicester, and they couldn't get the fact it's like I don't want to come. I'm going to my kids, and in the end, I used to make excuses up all the time. No, I can't do it. I don't drink and drive, so I can't. Oh, no, I can stay at my house. Every excuse. In the end, I said, look. Don't mean to be disrespectful. If I got a choice to spending my evening with you, spend the evening with my boys, you lose every time. Yeah. I said, I've got nothing against you lot, but I want to get home, I want to put them to bed, I want to do the stuff we do, watch a load of the TV that we watch, and be there the following morning to do what we do. Yeah. And all I did was focus on being a good dad. Yeah. And that's what you do, isn't it?
Well, I mean, talking about that, chances were, I came out and I had to go on a hostel before what's name? Yeah. So they put Tony in London. He was at Wormwood Scrubs, and they put me in Winston Green. Yeah. Anyway, so they were going to put me in Pentonville, but Pentonville, they banged you back up. So it's literally like being in jail. You had no freedom. Or I could go to Birmingham. So anyway, I went to Birmingham. But what I used to do, because I'd been locked away for that long, I wanted to know how people reacted with each other, because all you had in prison was pornographic books and all that kind of thing. We didn't have women round us. There were no women prison officers or anything. So I wanted to know how people reacted. And I used to go down to New Street Station and I'd have a cup of coffee and I'd watch people getting off of trains, children meeting their dad or mum, running up and all that. A man and woman meeting each other because he worked in London, she worked somewhere, and then coming together, all that kind of stuff was important to me. And because there are many men who walk out of prison and they can't even cross the road, they're frightened of traffic and all that kind of thing. So Screw came to me, he said, look, he said, you're not looking for a job. He said, you're out with your mates, the gangsters. I said, no, I'm not. I said, I'd get a job, but whereabouts am I going to get a job? Coming out with my kind of setup. But I said, I'll tell you what, there's a kid split the hostel. If he comes back, will he come on the hostel? He said, no. I said, so there's a vacancy there where he used to work. Take me for that. So he took me down to this place, roofing, or C&E roofing. And he turned round and went and had a talk with the boss before I went in there. I can imagine what he's saying, like this is all the rest of it. And the boss called me in. So the Screw's standing there and boss is standing there with the company. He said, you ever raped an old lady? I said, no, I never have. Have you ever raped anybody? I said, no. He said, have you ever beat up an old couple? I said, no, I never have. He said, tell me this. He said, you interfered with children? I said, no. He said, right. He said, you start Monday. So I said, start Monday where? He told me where I started, report this guy, and I did. But I went as a chippy. I wasn't a carpenter. I messed about at school, doing a little bit of carpentry, but not what they wanted anyway. I was told to do a fascia board in the gutter, and I put it up as a right mess, and I know I'm going to get the sack. So I finally go and have a cup of coffee. So I'm walking across the road, and I see a black guy there, a little old black man, boiler suit done up to there, trilby hat on, and that. I said, I've seen you stand out here for about 3 days. Who do you work for? He said, C&E Roofing. Oh, I said, do you really? I said, but why have you waited 3 days? Oh, he said, they're going to send somebody down for me. I said, well, they haven't sent anybody yet, have they? I said, what's your name? He said, Joe Minto. I said, listen, Joe, I'm a carpenter. I work for C&E Roof, but I'm not a carpenter. I said, I don't know what I'm doing. I said, but there's a mug on here. I said, I don't know what he's doing. And he's put that guttering and fascia board up there. I said, can you sort it out? Yes, boss. I went and had a cup of coffee. I come back. He'd done the most perfect job. I said, you really are a chippy? He went, yeah. He said, I work for Pebble Mill down at the TV studios. I used to build the sets and things like that. I said, well, let me tell you, John, I'm a prisoner. I've just finished 15 years and they put me on this. I said, but I'm going to lose the job. I said, I'll tell you what I am. I'm the best labourer you'll ever meet. I said, can you and I work together? Because you're not working because you're black. And he looked at me like that and he went, yeah. He said, we can work together. Him and I went to work together. We're the most unusual couple in the world. He's a lovely, lovely man. You understand what I'm saying? Decent man, hard working. On the other hand, I know every trick in the book. So we're going up and we're smashing the Welsh Blues as we take them off. That's the Welsh Blue slates. Well, somebody told me whereabouts I could get 50 pence for Welsh Blue slates instead of smashing them up. So I went to Joe. I said, listen, Joe, see them Welsh Blues? I said, I can get money for them. No, man. He said, we don't steal. He said, they belong to the boss. He said, and we're not going to take them. I thought, the boss doesn't care about them, but Joe never saw it like that. Joe saw that they were, they did belong to the boss. So we never took them. Then I said, look, Joe, you and me can earn a lot of money if we go on piecework. I'll get a chainsaw and we can go through these beams like anything. He said, Chris, he said, we're craftsmen, not butchers. This was Joe Minto, this black guy. Lovely, lovely guy. And him and I worked together, and we worked that well that the top people put us on the best work, trellis work or anything that needed a little bit of craftsmanship, Joe and I would do. But after I'd worked with him for 6 months, I was free to come back to wherever I wanted to go. But I couldn't stay in Birmingham. So anyway, I said to Joe, I've got to go. And the boss said to me, Chris, stay with us. Stay with us. And I would have loved to have stayed. But the rules said that I had to go to Bicester, where my brother had a big company.
Which brother was that?
Jimmy.
Oh, Jim, right, yeah.
And he owned a big company. He was dealing with a QE2,
yeah,
all them kind of Cunard line, different Rolls Royce and all them building kind of metal stuff for them. And I'd got a sitting guilds in Tig, Gargan and Arc.
Yeah.
And what I wanted him to give me a job so that I could go and work in Saudi Arabia on the pipelines, where people were earning a lot of money. But he wouldn't give me a job because he thought I'd want to take the company over. So, so I didn't get the job. But anyway, I come down there and I went into a job centre quite by chance. And there was a job going for a quarry manager. I applied for it and got it. But there were cowboys who were trying to run it.
Yeah.
So they come and said, look, there's not enough punters coming in, so we're going to close the company down. I said, no, you're not going to close the company down. This is feeding my children. It's paying my mortgage. This job was in the job centre. I don't play bloody games, and neither are you. So then the farm manager came down and had a talk with me. He said he can't afford to run it anymore, so I don't care. Then Budget, Arthur Budget, he was a racehorse trainer. They own all the land in Curlington. He came down and saw me and said, look, Chris, he said, do you want to take it over? I didn't have a bank account. And, but there was a man who did want it, come and had a word with me. So I brought them two together, and they opened it up. And they got all the work off the M40 because they were building the M40, and they had to take the gravel and everything else and the soil somewhere, and the lorries were coming in all day long.
Over Bicester Way?
Pardon?
Is that Bicester Way?
Yeah, it's Kirtlington.
Where's that?
That's as you go through. Do you know?
I know Finmere side.
No, that's up the top.
Right.
Kirtlington's over the other side. You go through Kirtlington to get to Kidlington on the back roads.
Yeah.
So it's a village.
Yeah.
And there's a dip as you're going through Kirtlington. You go down and up. And the polo fields and all that are there. And so I was there, and I was there till it closed. But I dedicated myself to it. And I got well and truly looked after by them too. Anyway, my parole officer, Mike Howard, said, Chris, you're wasted there. Come on, I'm going to take you somewhere. He took me round homeless shelters, but they didn't want somebody like me. You understand what I mean? They wanted like person they could say, oh, like, well, he's never had a trouble in his life and all that kind of thing. So he said, I've just got to go into the lay community and drop a letter off. And he went there and he came out. He said, the director would like to meet you. So I went in. I didn't think about a job. I didn't think about nothing. And we got talking, and he said, what are you doing now? I said, well, I've just finished this job at Kirtlington, and I'm not doing anything, really. He said, would you like to be a volunteer here? So I said, yeah. The first job they gave me was to go down to London Sessions and take a resident down. So I got down there, went down by train, got a bus over to the London Sessions, and they asked me to go up and say something in the court. And I got up and said, well, this man's done a condition of residence for 6 weeks. We can help him out. Just give us a chance. You send him to prison, there's more drugs in prison than there is out on the street.
Yeah.
And he'll fall into the into the crime system. Let me take him back to lay community and we will change his life. He said, well, we'll have to deliberate. They come back. I said, Mr. Lambrianou, you can take him down to the lay community and we'll give him a 15-month residence there. That really worked. The next one, go down to in a London Crown Court. Another one I've got to speak. Will you go to the Old Bailey? Where I got sentenced to 15 years, by now they've given me a car that I can travel instead of travelling by train because it was ridiculous. I had to be in court on time. And I found it difficult to park outside the Old Bailey. And I went to the probation service and said, look, I've got a problem here. I need to get this man to court and I can't do it because there's nowhere to park. Oh, we can help you there. And gave me my own parking ticket that I could park in the Old Bailey. That just don't happen to people who've done my kind of bird.
Yeah.
But it happens to people who are doing something good and decent.
Yeah.
So every time I went to court in London, anywhere, I could drive into the parking spaces in the court. Go up the Old Bailey, I've got a guy there. He's been shoplifting. He's got metal bags, lead lined, so they can't, whatever it is they do. But he'd been quite a nasty character. And I got up and told him that he'd done very well. He wanted to complete the programme. And he did. He became a bus driver, this guy.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm over in Oxford this day. I can hear people beeping. And I look around, it's him sitting in a bus. He's now a bus driver. Straight as they come. And that was the kind of people. Go and pick this person up from Wandsworth Prison. Go to Pentonville Prison, pick this person up. And then Steve Walker, the director I was telling you about, said to me, Chris, we've got a job we want you to do. I said, what's that, Steve? He said, go into Bullingdon Prison, take the drug programme in there. Yeah. So, I went and took it in there. Guys doing 10, 12, 6, 7 years. And I go in there and we talk about their life and everything that's happening. But there wasn't a guy in there who didn't want to change. They had their wives and children outside. Them poor people had to travel up by train and bus. Going to prison, visit somebody in prison, isn't just like that, turning up at a prison. You've got to get on a train. You've got to go hours on the train or hours on the bus, all that kind of stuff. And so, anyway, really was going very well. But it came at Christmas. And Steve said to me, Chris, you're going to go and take the programme in prison at at the Christmas, 2 days away. I said, no, I'm not, Steve. I know what them men are going for. They're going to see me walking out of jail and they're going to be gutted that they're not doing the same. I'm not going. He said, you've got to go. It's your job. I said, I'm not going. I had a real argument with him. And Claire Dilly, a probation girl, came over and said, look, Chris, Steve's right, you've got to go. Them men need to see you, especially at this time of the year. And reluctantly I went. And I went there and I was very honest with the guy. I said, look, I didn't want to be here today. I know what you're going through because I've been there. But I've been pushed into coming. And just to let you know, I understand where you're in and how difficult it is and all that. And we got talking about this, the programme and everything else like that. And at the end of that programme, every man came and gave me a hug. Chris, thanks for coming. Because you made it, we can make it.
Yeah.
So you never know how important a thing is. You understand what I'm saying?
I've always said it's like the slightest thing, as I said to Tristan, is, when I see someone struggling on social media, I might not even know them. I might send someone, a quick text. Takes 30 seconds. And we've often said, haven't we, that little message out of nowhere. Or we do it in the gym, don't we? We see someone who struggles. I'd prefer to see someone overweight in that gym, proving it can be done, than someone who's looking really good. And we'll go over and say, fair play to you, you're looking really good. Or, fair, because just that little, you don't need to.
Pick some up.
And you're doing it for no reason. No one's asked you to do it. It's not false. You're just going over and doing
We've been all over the country, Mickey and myself and our little group of people. And I'll tell you what, he's never charged us. Never charged us for going there, never asked for any money. he shares the experience and everything else like that. We couldn't do half of the stuff we do without Mickey, you understand what I mean? Yeah. Each one of us counts, and we each put an effort in. When we went up to Anfield, I mean, I remember going in that classroom and all them people in there, and everybody said something. They listened, and they want us to go back and do more talks and stuff like that.
See them, you know, it's really opened up my eyes as well, because some of them kiddies there are like 3 years old, and they're getting in the boxing ring and doing this and doing that, and to see them little deprived kids sitting there, because I didn't realise how Liverpool, such a deprived area it was, until I went down there, and they're standing there and they're holding the big check up like that, and the mums come up and said, thanks,
that's right,
really
said
nice,
thank you, really, really,
and let's hope they can grow, see that, and look at it,
and that blesses you. And Mick will say to me, Chris, I like that, you know, and he gets so much out of it that you can't buy it. Yeah. You cannot buy that kind of blessing. You understand what I mean? Kindness is its own reward.
Yeah. And also, if you do that for someone at that age, it's sort of installed, and hopefully they'll.
That's
do
right.
that
In the future.
Do you know? I don't know. My Sandy, who I live with, she's got a grandson. He's 8 years old, and the other day she took him down to the bowling place, and he won some things on the machine. Now, for an 8-year-old to do this, all of a sudden he goes, Nana, I've won 4 toys. I don't need these 2. So he went round and found 2 other kids that had nothing and gave them to him. But no one told him to do that.
Yeah. That's a real rare thing in this day and age, isn't it? It's just...
But he's 8 years old. Where did he get it from? Yeah. So, yeah, it's really good. Anything else you need to ask, Chris?
No.
And that's why I think children need a male role model in their
completely.
life. A lot of them, when they go to the gym, the boxing trainer, the keep fit trainer, they become the role models. They become the disciplinarians. They have such an impact on these children's lives who don't have a male role model. The mother is trying to keep it all together. Yeah. She's got to be the cook, the school runner, the worker, has to do everything. But you know something, I kind of look at them poor kids and I think to myself, if only they had that man in their life.
It's that whole nucleus, and I was saying this the other day, when I obviously been a kid, you know, you had your mum and dad, and there was nothing scarier than you wait till your father gets home. You know, there was certain, and even though, you know, you could quite easily say the woman was the stronger of the 2 because she held it together. But they both had different roles, and both roles were needed, and they synchronised. And we were saying exactly this the other day, weren't we? I mean, we've listen, our thing is we've never had deep pockets to throw money at things. We try and give our time. And we met this young lad called Eden, didn't we?
Yeah, he's so I split between living at my dad's and my mum's.
Yeah.
So my mum lives in Castleford, my dad lives in Hartford.
Yeah. And also, his mum is my event manager that sits there, my wife sits there, because we just concentrate on the kids.
Yeah. That's
so
nice,
I get nagged at by both simultaneously. So yes,
like when him and Chase used to go, I don't know, out for a night or whatever, my brother would come and stay with my mum and me. Yeah, so I've always been like that.
Family,
or like for Christmas we'd go away, that kind of thing anyway. So I always split between both houses, or sleep on the sofa there. And got this lad, and he's living above a pub. He was 17. And it's like everyone there's just, you know, doing coke, or literally probably 3-4 days a week, or they're just drinking every single day. It's like, it's not nice, especially if you think about it. He's still technically a kid. Instead of a child, really. And so we discussed, and we're like, right, so I moved out.
We got him here first, though, didn't we? We got him here for trial for a few hours.
Doing some bits and seeing how he was, and he started picking him up a little bit, but his still being there just wasn't right. So I moved out of there, because my brother was redoing his room.
Yeah. And
so, because he didn't drive either, we had to run him around, and my dad had gone away, and Tracy had gone away, so I had to run him around. So I slept on a floor in my brother's building site, basically. Every day, for 3 months, I had to sweep a floor before I could sleep on a mattress on the floor, and all I had was a thin blanket and a pillow. So he could have my room. I moved everything out.
We moved him out the pub, didn't we?
Because I wanted to help someone, and not even just I wanted to help someone. I wanted to I could see a potential, and you know, he had potential. He's such a lovely guy. He's so nice to everyone. Why is he not being treated that way? So that's what it's things like that. I've got so much enjoyment out of. I was more than happy sleeping on the floor. Did not bother me.
Yeah. He's been with us. How long has he been with us now? 6 months.
I reckon
full time here now. We've got him into trading shares and stuff like that.
Got him past his driving lesson.
Got him through his driving test. He'd already got a car that he was working on.
Got him into so I paid for his gym membership as well because his passion was always the gym. So I was like, you know what? I just literally paid for his gym membership for the year. Do it yearly, and it's just so you see he's now started training. You can see his confidence. You can see his.
I've just done that with my grandson.
It's lovely, isn't it?
Yeah, it is a good feeling.
And just,
it cost me $250, I think. But
yeah,
well worth it.
Yeah,
but it's not only the fact of the physical change you're doing; it's the fact of seeing someone mentally and their confidence, their just self-belief. I think.
Well, what he did, he used to be at home playing on his game system.
They weren't allowed to do that.
Yeah, and no, but
nuts, isn't it?
He does it because this is another thing. You see, what happens with families now is they have children. The first one goes to the back of the queue.
Yeah.
Because another one's arrived.
Yeah.
Then another one arrives and he goes to the back of the queue. So they just want to belong because sometimes they don't think they quite belong as they used to do.
Yeah.
The mother would give them all the attention, all the love and all that kind of thing. But now she's got to spread it. And the one who gets it all is the youngest one. Mm. It's like I used to drive. The youngest one always sat in the front with me. And the others were all sitting in the back. I used to smoke with the window open. And I thought, what am I doing? I'm polluting their air. So I packed up smoking in the car. I used to go and have a bet. 40 years ago, jump out, have a quick bet. And lo and behold, I walked in the betting shop this day. I thought, my kids are out in that car. I'm in here with all these losers. What am I doing? I'm robbing them. So, right, I'll go out, never go in a betting shop again. So I still smoke, but what I do, I smoke outside in the garden. And they'd be at the window, Daddy, Daddy, Daddy. And I thought, no. I've come out of there because I don't want to pollute their air. But now I'm robbing them of time.
Yeah. Back there.
So at the end of the day, I just packed up smoking. And I've never smoked since, about 38 years ago.
It's funny that you say, like, you know, you stay with your dad and this, you know, my eldest daughter, Beth, her mum remarried. I went to the wedding, right? And she was somewhere once, and she goes, I'm such a lucky girl. I think she was about 6. She goes, I've got 3 mums and 3 dads.
That's what these two said. Do you remember? You always listen to your kids when they're chatting away. It's really interesting. You sort of earwig, didn't you?
Yeah.
We're in the car, and you're only sitting there, and it's like, we're really lucky, aren't we? And the other one go, yeah, we are really lucky. We'd obviously missed the first bit, so you go, what are they talking about? What is it they're lucky about? So you're intrigued. We're driving at the time. Yeah, we're really lucky. It's because, and I forget which way round it was, but it might have been you, and you went, well, I've got mum, and Tracy's like a kind of mum. And then Owen would go, yeah, and I've got mum, and I've got Sam, and she's a kind of mum too. And it's like, we're really lucky, aren't we? Because we got 2 mums and 1 dad, and we just all, and it was so nice. But we've said this the other day, people try and cause problems because it's like, that's a bit unusual. Why do you work for him then? Why do he controls your life a little bit. Why? Because I make sure, you know, she wanted a nice car, she always wanted to buy us, and we just did. It's like, your goal, my goal. So you tell me what you want to do, and like with your kids, isn't it? It's like, you want to do that. That's my goal. I'm not doing it because I have to. I'm as passionate.
Yeah.
I mean, when he must have been really young. He saved from 13 because his dream was at 21 to buy a Ferrari. It was his dream. So he'd be down. All his mates would be down the park and all the things they did. He was down there working all the time. And at 21, he managed to buy a Ferrari. And I was so proud. And I said to him, in the last couple of years where it started to look like we could actually pull this off, and we've obviously, you know, worked 90 hours a week and all the rest of it. And I said, you know what, the day you went and picked that up, I was as proud as you were. I'm not even allowed, I've only been drive it once, and then you won't let me drive it now. But it's like,
scraped it. First scrape it got on it.
But it's like, I was as proud as you were. Same with Owen. It's like the things you've done, it's like, you know, it's like you get such a reward. It's like them opening Christmas presents. No one's ever, my wife done, oh, you're not opening your presents. No, I'm quite happy sitting here with fuck all, watching you lot. And that's
what I get. They say to me, Dad, what do you, come on, birthday's Christmas Day.
Yeah.
What do you want for your birthday? Packet of licorice, all sorts.
Yeah.
And they go, what? I say, yeah, packet of licorice, all sorts. But don't you want something? No, I don't want no. I have no need for any. I've got everything I need.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? That's just me.
Yeah.
If I want a suit, I'll go and buy a second-hand one.
Yeah.
I'm going to pay £200 or £300 for a suit because you don't know it's second-hand.
Exactly.
You understand? I don't even know it's second-hand. Well, I know I'm wearing a suit.
Yeah.
You understand?
It's
a second-hand pair of shoes. I'm not bothered. I don't want a brand new flash car. I've had it all.
Yeah.
All I want is a car just to get from A to B.
Yeah.
And remember Charlie Kray saying to me one day, I said, Charlie, I had a big kind of American job, a Galaxy, Golden Galaxy it was. I said, Charlie, you can have any car you want. Why are you driving that car, a little old rough car? He said, nobody knows where I am. And that was it. Yeah. It fitted in.
So, yeah.
But then, when I came out of prison, he rang me up and said, Chris, come down here with us. We've got everything going. I went, Charlie, I'm not interested. He said, what do you mean, not interested? I said, I've just had twins. I've got 2 babies. I said, they're twins. I can't desert them. Because now I'm on the right track.
Yeah.
Do I want to go down in that world again? No, I've got a job.
Yeah.
I'm a quarry manager and I've got twins and I'm going home and I'm giving my wife the full wage packet.
Yeah.
You know what I'm doing? I'm getting mine on the side. I've got my little bit of money I need on the side, but she's got the full wage packet. I'm not robbing my kids.
Yeah. And it is a mindset, because as I said, when I came out, we moved literally to Northampton, just over the border, got the job in Bicester. But my thing was, as I said, is like, you then have your old associates.
Yeah.
Now, you don't want to upset them. It's like, he thinks you're too good for us and all that sort of stuff. So I told them, part of my probation, I couldn't associate with anyone and fucked off.
Yeah.
And I never sort of reappeared in Milton Keynes at all for a good couple of years until I felt I was back on my feet a little bit, and then I just went back to the old gym and trained. But even that, I went early mornings. I get up at 3. I'm just chuffed to wake up each day. That's what I taught them. Wake up. If you open your eyes in the morning, anything else is secondary.
That's right. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. And the one thing you can't buy is time.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can't buy a day. So, you wake up and you look out the window, whether it's raining, whether it's sunshine or whatever, enjoy the day.
It's like when I see people, as I said, you do a lot on social media, being, it's raining. And it's like, I don't fucking care. I mean, we've walked through floods to get to the gym. It's like, who cares? We're waterproof. Not fussed. I stand out there, and when it's raining, I normally go, I don't like the cold and rain, but just raining, I love it. Yeah. It's probably my favourite weather. And I said to a lot of people, if you learn to love the rain, love the wind, love that, anything else is a bonus. But you've got to learn to love the things that most people will say, I can go sit inside all day today because it's raining. I'm going to stay in bed.
When I used to be the manager of a garage and that, people used to come in and say this, and then they'd moan about the most silliest things. They really would. And I used to look and say, is anyone dead?
Yeah. Okay. I think changes your perception. I always said that because when obviously I came out, I said it was a tiny amount of time compared to you. But when I come out, it's like, getting a red, you remember the old red letters?
Yeah.
My wife is like, what are they going to do? Put me in prison? I think I can cope. That was my whole philosophy, apart from, like you say, losing your parent. Obviously, that was a bit stressful and stuff. But generally speaking, it's like, what are you going to do? You're going to arrest me, put me in prison? It's like, it puts everything into... So everything's relative.
Yeah. But I will say, when you do that sort of job I did do, it actually puts it into perspective a lot, because I don't know, it's really weird, because you want to know what everyone died of, or you want to know this, you want to know that. You get inquisitive about everything, so.
I tell you, the one I was always interested was Freddie Foreman, because he seemed to be, like yourself, a very successful businessman. Really seemed, when I read his book, and obviously we used to follow Jamie, he was acting, and, but he seemed to...
Jamie was like you said about someone else.
About Nicky and when they went on the run.
For years, didn't he?
And when I read Jamie's book, the adventure they had as father-son together.
Yeah.
Seemed like you're never...
I spoke to him the other day, and
Freddie or Jamie?
Yeah,
because he's not well.
No, he did. I remember
mentally he's okay.
Yeah,
but his legs are giving out away, and that kind of thing. He works in. He lives in sheltered accommodation.
Yeah, I saw something. I haven't seen him as in on video or something.
Yeah,
a long time ago.
And that, so he don't go out to any dudes anymore. He don't go to don't do podcasts, don't do nothing, does he? But you know, I mean,
how old is he now?
93.
93.
So you know, I mean, he all he wants to do is live a peaceful life.
Yeah.
That's him.
Yeah.
You know, so it's difficult, really.
I suppose he's the one that he's the one that done everything, but he got rid of that double jeopardy, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
Yes. Do you know what? I was always fascinated with you know the whole story and everything else, and I still got all the books there and everything. And I always remember with Freddie. I remember the book that Freddie and your brother did, which I was saying to you, it was more or less. It was like an olden day podcast, wasn't it? Because it was literally them talking all the way through. But I always found it fascinating.
Have you got your phone?
Yes.
Right, go on eBay.
Yeah.
Put the name Chris Lambrianou in.
Yeah.
Is there a book there called Do the Walls Come Down?
Yes.
How much?
Bloody hell, 99 quid.
How much?
99 quid, that one.
Yeah. That book is not about the Krays.
Yeah.
When I originally wrote that book, it was in prison.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you the story of the book. I was praying this night, and something said to me, Chris, don't say these prayers, write them down.
Yeah.
And I got sat at the table and I wrote down my thoughts, meditations. And I kept them. And I then, when I came out, my parole officer, Mike Al, was a minister. And he said, how did you get through prison? I said, did a lot of writing. Used to write children's stories for my daughter, who I wasn't seeing, but one day would see, and I'd give them to her. And I said, but when my father died, I started writing these stories before he died, these meditations, and I wrote them about daily life in prison and all that kind. And during the course of these meditations, my father passed away, and he was the one person that I wanted to say sorry to.
Yeah.
He was the one person who really suffered by visiting us. And one day he said to me, Chris, he said, you broke my hand. I said, Dad, I'd never hurt you for the world. He said, you're in prison. Tony's in prison. Nicky's in prison. He said, I've got 2 sons that are still out here. He said, but my hand is broken. Now, the Rothschilds, they've got five sons.
Yeah.
And if you go down to, what's the name of that place?
Blenheim or not? No.
Pardon?
Blenheim Palace or?
No, there's another one.
Waddesdon? No.
Waddesdon Manor.
Waddesdon Manor.
On each of the houses down there, they've got a quiver full of arrows.
Yeah.
On each of the houses. Like it's carved into the stone. In the Bible, it says 5 sons are a quiver full of arrows. And that's right. You can do so much with them.
Yeah.
But I was the eldest son. My influence affected Tony. Affected my younger brother, Nicky, who died in prison.
Yeah.
Of cancer of the throat. Ronnie Sullivan, you know, the snooker player.
Yeah.
He turned round, he said, the only reason you're keeping him in prison instead of a hospital is because his brothers were involved with the Krays.
Yeah.
That was Ronnie's dad, wasn't it?
Yeah, he really did stand up for Nicky.
Yeah.
And he passed away. So, you know, I mean, all these different things are kind of, I was writing down each day as it went, and he passed away. And I thought, how can I lose you? Well, when I came out, Mike Howard said to me, how did you get? I'll give him these, what's the names? These meditations. Anyway, Mike give his secretary and she typed them all up. And then Prison Christian Fellowship asked me, had I ever done any writing? I said, yeah. So I gave them this and they made it into a book that went in prisons everywhere.
Yeah.
But also, I started to do, calligraphy with my own words. And I had an exhibition in Westminster Abbey, at Westminster Cathedral, which is the Catholic one up the road. Anyway, then I did the one for for the book. And there were more people interested in that book till the walls come down that are interested in any other Kray book. No, I don't know any other Kray book that's going to £99.
That's nuts.
And Tony Turner, he gave us 2,500. We'd actually sold one of my books for 2,500.
I know, yeah.
And that went towards the Aim Tree charity. So, it's all relevant. But
I see so much of, this is signed by Chris and this. I've got loads of things and I'd never part with them. But, and I sometimes I have to say so. I say, that's not Chris's signature. How do you know?
Yeah.
Believe me, I know.
Because what people do, they sign things, it's not you signing them.
Yeah. We get it a lot with our racers. So as I said, we've been involved with motorcycle racers as a sponsor. Next year's our 18th season. And some of the top riders there will say, what's your name? Just when they're doing it, just in case. In fact, one of the riders was one of the TT racers. I set him up a business on the Isle of Man as a coffee company because he was interested. Yeah. I said, well, look, let's set you up for the future. That whole, teach a man a fish, not give him a fish.
Yeah, that's right.
And I remember when I was trying to set it all up for him, I said, right, what we're going to do is we're going to put your signature on every coffee cup. So, because people queue for fucking miles to get your signature. Now, they're going to have one of your, that's your recommendation. And we pick up all these coffee bags and
bikes. My cousin in Ireland, he does all the for Dunlop.
Oh, Michael.
Collins, his name Collins.
Yeah. Yeah, we bought the bike for him back in, I reckon it was 2015.
Is that for
the Yamaha? Because he never rode it. Yeah.
They're in Cork, aren't they?
Yeah. So we got one proper Irish team, which is Taz. And then we've got.
We're over for the Northwest.
Yes, we sponsor the Northwest Tour.
Yeah, because my cousin does the races for Dunlop. I
do like Michael. We bought him, as I said, we bought his bike. We bought him an R1 back in whatever year it was. But he had a fallout with the team, didn't ride it. I was gutted. I always remember I've done a bit of a deal, and we'd done the deal. And I'm proper old school. I don't have contracts. It's like a bit of a handshake, and we were kitting out all these tool stores. So we were kitting out all these tool stores for a company called Milwaukee that make tools. And part of the deal was you kit it all out, and instead of giving us a discount, you've got to buy the bike for the TT because we haven't got a budget for the TT. We've only been signed off to do the British super bikes. No problem. I always remember having to write that back. There was a cheque, 14.5 grand inclusive, and 14.4 it was 12 grand plus that. And I always remember it fucking hurt, but it wasn't technically for my money. Like to write out, but that was done lot. Yeah. No, so we spent with our lives. As I said, he's been brought up in the paddocks.
Yeah, because I used to sell a lot of motorbike tyres.
Yeah.
Years ago, I done a lot of my training on with like motorbike tyres, and I was I run Northway tyres in London for a while. So
we just found it was a better class of people, and what I mean by that is, again, when you're trying to bring your kids up, you're trying to give them enough. Was it free? But you don't want them getting stabbed. Exactly as we discussed.
Yeah.
Now, what we found was, we go out, we've been going TT for a guy called John McGuinness. That guy there is probably one of the most famous. So Michael Dunlop has now just beaten John John won it 23 times. Michael's now done about 20.
Yeah.
And John took us over. And this first year, you go into, not that we go into bars much, but you go into a bar and they'd all be wearing every bloody top.
Yeah.
No hostility. Yeah. Everyone stood next to each other. It's not like football where you got that team against that team and all that. It's like everyone just loves bikes. If you're broken down at the side of the road, a bike will stop. A car drive away, will drive past. And we just found that we got where we could take them into the little bars on the circuits.
Yeah.
And it was a safe environment. But they could go up to the bar and learn, how it all works. Yeah. And another guy we take out, I don't know if you remember, Eddie Kidd, if you remember the stuntman.
Yeah, that's
Eddie's
right.
in a bad way, but Eddie was with us last weekend. And we take him out to do's, and he's just obviously can't Because
you started chatting to him, didn't you? And then you invited him to Brands, because that's their closest one, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, I just thought that I just thought, I presume you'll be there. Someone, he went, no. A lot of people
they said everyone just forgot
about it. It wasn't until Top Gear done the thing on him, and the stunt guys that arranged that, we sponsor.
Yeah.
And Terry came through and said, would you do a coffee machine for him? Would you do a branded coffee machine? Or it was all Eddie's history. We had to get all the pictures of the wall of China and everything else. We made this machine for him. And then, we take him out, and he was with us at the weekend, and he's so funny. And he's only that his brain ain't connected to his body, isn't it? So he can't speak properly. But he's still, I could get him laughing so much. Twice he choked on his dinner. It's like, I killed Eddie. He's joking. Because I just get him laughing. Yeah. But again, it's just nice. And it's nice to see people that recognise him. It's like, is that Eddie Kidd?
Yeah.
It's like, that's Eddie Kidd. And
he's not been forgotten.
No, and exactly. That's so nice to see. So we do a lot of that. We do take the imps out, didn't we? The kid ones as well.
Because they got him on the actual track just before the race and got him in. So you have the little square box where the bikes park, and they got him parked in one of them.
Right.
And it was he actually jumped in. He jumped.
Was it 12 buses or something?
12 buses down there.
And that's where his starting point. And you just to bring back those memories for him. Yeah. He said it's that rewarding thing. It's for me. I'm doing it for me. Yeah. I love watching the look on his face and doing all this and seeing all these old fans remember.
Yeah, remember him. Yeah.
Yeah. So we do quite a lot of that.
Tell me, have we finished the podcast?
Yeah.